Aaron Spearman for Southeast AgNet.
Whether you're building it up or knocking it down, get it done, rent it now. Sunbelt Rentals is here to make your job a little easier. Our knowledgeable staff will help you find the right equipment for any job, big or small. Did you know that Sunbelt Rentals carries heaters, air conditioners, generators, lighting, traffic control, and so much more? So whether you're building it up or knocking it down, we've got the equipment you need. Get it done, rent it now. And right now, for a limited time, you can have it for less. Just by mentioning this ad, if you rent it Friday afternoon, you can keep it the whole weekend and only pay for one day. But this is a limited time offer, so stop into Sunbelt Rentals today, Northwest 27th, just a quarter mile east of I-75. For more information, just give us a call, 352-369-9101. 352-369-9101. Sunbelt Rentals. Get it done, rent it now. 352-369-9101.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala!
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. In 2 days, I have a photograph that will be 75 years old. In 2 days, this photograph will be 75 years old. In this photograph, it's a picture of my mother and her brother, my uncle. They were probably in their teens, I'm guessing. I'm sure they were. And they, of course, had been immigrants from Germany. And when Pearl Harbor was bombed on December 7th, 1941, because he was a young man, he joined the Navy, but he had been from Germany, so they didn't want to send a German immigrant over to Germany. So they sent him to the Pacific Theater, as they called it. Interesting word, isn't it, for war, theater.
It is.
Our next guest knows theater very well, and in fact, she knows that war pretty well. She's written about it. It's a book called Orchids of War. Her name is Denise Frisino. She's on the phone, and the reason I say she knows theater is because she's an actress. And in her bio that I had earlier read, she enjoys now being the one who writes the words, and whereas once upon a time she would act out other people's stories. She's an accomplished writer. She's also a director and a producer. It says here a comedian, and it says she drank scotch with Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is pretty cool.
That is awesome.
The book again is called Orchids of War: The Untold Story of Japanese Spies in the United States During World War II. You're going to learn about a character she named. Oh gosh, I can't. Billy O'Shaughnessy. And I think Billy O'Shaughnessy is based on an actual real lady. We'll find out in a second. And let's first say good morning to Denise. Denise Frisino. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning, Larry. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I did drink scotch with Katharine Hepburn, and she was a pistol. Let me tell you that one.
I bet
we'll
she
just
was.
start right there.
Where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I'm in Seattle, Washington.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, when you were acting, were you acting in movies or on plays? What were you doing?
All of the above.
All the above.
TV commercials, TV.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived in Los Angeles for a while. That's where I met producers, and I had the fortune of meeting Kate and some other, Anthony Quinn, some other wonderful.
Oh, wow.
I would do warm-up for Robin Williams at the Comedy Store years ago when he was Mork.
Oh, gosh, isn't
Did
that
you really?
something?
Okay, so
Yes.
you are way too young to remember 75 years ago then, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right. So you have a fascination with that era, or perhaps with the character, the person who Billy O'Shaughnessy is based on, right?
What happened was when I was interviewing for my first book, which was Whiskey Cove, a man told me, "Oh, honey, prohibition through the San Juan Islands out here on the Northwest, that's nothing." There was a young Caucasian woman who was fluent in Japanese right before the war broke out, and she was a student at the University of Washington. And when the FBI found out about her, they took her, dressed her like a hooker, put her in the bars of San Francisco, and had her listen to the conversations of the Japanese to determine who the spies were and what they were working on at that point in time.
Where was that?
Oh, my.
Where was that again? Tell me. San Francisco?
San Francisco
Yeah.
area is the one that I heard of first. Now, I've done research, and in Los Angeles probably might have been a place where they put her. I never met the woman, but I did 4 years of research on this subject matter. Yeah, so
isn't it interesting that something so classified information will be spoken about so freely just because they think nobody can understand the language?
absolutely. And for a white hooker, are you a young woman of ill repute? Are you kidding me?
Was she actually a hooker or no? Or just dressed like one?
No. They had her impersonate one. So as my character Billy, I had a lot of fun because that character gets to switch between being a very brilliant woman to a sassy. I give her the name Ginger.
Yes.
Okay. This sounds like this is going to be a movie. I mean, I can see this is all over the place. So the comedian in you is also a part of this. I can hear it already.
Yes. And I have what I tried to do in this book, because our Pacific Northwest was a true melting pot. So I have a very strong Chinese character. I have an African American character who is just wonderful and charming, and my FBI agent has a lot of foibles, and he absolutely positively detests the Japanese for a good reason in the beginning, and then he kind of changes through his relationship with Billy. Billy, of course, loves the Japanese because her best friend is Japanese, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with this. Go away, FBI man. Mm-hmm. His name is Jack, and but then she gets coerced into helping him, and then she struggles with what she is learning about the culture she has grown to love.
Okay, so the Japanese spies. Let's talk about the historical part of this before we go into the fictional part.
Right.
The historical part is based on that spy ring, and you say it was from Mexico all the way up to Canada, the whole West Coast.
Absolutely, the whole West Coast. They actually had set up a radio station in Mexico for when the war broke out, so they could continue the communications. Because they knew that something was going to happen with their spies. Their spies were going to have to leave.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the decrypting machine? What was that? It was called
Magic. It was called Magic, and it decrypted the purple code. The Japanese had different names in colors, red, purple, and the purple was the one that was coming out of the basically the consulates, and it was the code that they were using. There were some Japanese who, to their dying day, absolutely were adamant that we had not broken their code, but we had broken it before the war broke out. And in fact, we knew the day of the attack. We just didn't know the where. That was divided into 14 different sections, and we were waiting on the 14th section to come in to find out the where. We knew the time.
Oh,
we
really?
Knew the day.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
We just did not know the where.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But there were a lot of suspicions in all of the readings that I've done. Several, like At Dawn We Slept. Gordon Prang spent 37 years researching just the attack on Pearl Harbor. Yamamoto proposed the attack on Pearl Harbor in January of 1941. There was an island in Japan that looked like Oahu, so they made it look even more like Oahu, and they practiced for a couple of months. Yes. They practiced their flights in. They changed the torpedoes so they wouldn't go so deep because Pearl Harbor is shallow. I mean, it wasn't just, hey, it's Sunday, let's go for a little
so this was well planned out. And it sounds like we knew about it, we just didn't know where, but I guess we didn't have enough intelligence at that time to figure out that if they're practicing in some place that looks like Oahu, then maybe Hawaii would be the target.
Well, there's controversy around that. Some people say that we did know where it was, but they wanted the war to happen because we were so lethargic as a country. We did not want another war,
right? And
we needed someone to trigger it for us and to pull us into it.
Yeah, because the U.S., I mean, everybody knew what was going on, and so some of the soldiers from the United States went over to England to fight the Germans, and the United States didn't even want to be involved in it.
Right. They went over as pilots. We lost a lot of pilots in England.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk about the fictional part. So you wrote the story called Orchids of War. Is there an explanation to the title, Orchids of War?
I just see orchids as being something, soft, and but the softness was a disguise for the sharpness of a sword too, because you didn't know who was who. So I just Orchids of War just came to me and it stuck.
So who are we following throughout the book? Are we following Billy O'Shaughnessy or Ginger?
Yeah. Billy and Jack. It follows both of them. Jack is the FBI agent. So it starts out in Seattle, then it moves to San Francisco, and then through Billy's brother, who gets into the Navy, we spend some time in Hawaii too. So because on my webpage, I have several of the men and women from World War II that I've interviewed, and I've started to put their stories up, and the books that I've researched. And I take the stories, the actual stories of these men and women, and I weave them through. So the accounts are realistic. I couldn't have made up these little itty bitty incidentals that I have.
So did the Japanese men, looking at Billy, thinking she was a hooker, did they what do you call it when you ask a hooker for sex? What do you call it? Proposition? Did they proposition her? And how did she say? Not right now. I mean, how did she do that?
Well, you have to read my book.
Oh, okay. See, that's the part that interests me.
How did she get out of it? Yes.
Yeah, how did she get out of it? I mean,
how did she get out of it? Well, I have several ways that she gets out of it in the book, and that builds the suspense because there were some major spies that were sent to America that had been trained. In 1937, Japan decided they did not have enough spies, so they started a new spy school, the Nakano, in the Nakano Ward in Japan. And by the end of the war, 2,500 more spies had come out of that school. And they also had another building another area that was designated simply to develop their needed, say, cameras, specialized belts, whatever it was, that the spy equipment, shall we say. So they were well trained, and they were then sent to various regions. Now, the one in Seattle came to us through Mexico, and I found his name in 3 different books, and he was supposed to have been one of their best.
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
Go ahead, Robin.
Now, you talk about something that's the winds code.
Oh, Robin, thanks for asking that. East wind rain was called the winds code. And if that came over the radio, repeated, it meant that Japan had chosen to go to a war with America. And it is said that when the major spy in Hawaii, he was Takeo, Takeo. Anyway, Takeo, when he heard that code, he ran in and started burning the consulate files because that was one of the orders that they were given. Burn all the files so that there is no evidence of espionage that we have been obviously doing.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. The book is called Orchids of War. We need to take a little break, but we'll continue our conversation with Denise on the other side of the break. Denise Frisino is on the air with us. She is the author of the book Orchids of War. We'll take a little break and be right back after this.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Mostly cloudy this afternoon with a shower around, high 82 to 85. Mostly cloudy and very warm tonight with a shower or thunderstorm, low 69 to 73. Cloudy Tuesday with a couple of showers and thunderstorms continuing, high 80 to 84. And mostly sunny and pleasant Wednesday, high 77 to 81. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Ashley Benoit.
When you go into Automax, Marion County's #1 pre-owned dealer for over 15 years, you won't take the new car depreciation because Automax saves you thousands on late model vehicles. Browse the inventory online at automaxocala.com. Then come down to see the great vehicles and upfront pricing in person. Compare up to 60 models inside the climate control showroom. So take your time. No high pressure, no gimmicks, no games. On the corner of 17th and Easy Street. Automax. Quality cars, outlet prices.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
We are more motivated to walk when we're at an interesting destination. Boy, I agree with this, whether it's a park, down Main Street, or even at the mall. The people we sit next to at work, we now know they can have a huge impact on our performance. Our mucous membranes dry out on planes. We lose some of the food's aroma, but breathing more deeply as we eat on the plane will make a bland meal taste a whole lot better.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
That was the sound of a tree falling. It could be your tree. You're going to have it trimmed, but never got around to calling Pride Tree Service. It could have fallen in a field, and now all you have to do is call Pride Tree Service, and they'll have it quickly out of the way for a great price. But don't wait until the tree falls. It may not fall in the field. It may hit your car, your house, or worse. So call Pride Tree Service today and avoid all those headaches before they happen. Pride Tree Service, 572-2510. That's 572-2510.
Whether you're just starting out in your career or ready to make a change, being a commercial pilot is within your reach. The FAA has predicted that in the next few years, the number of planes in the sky will double, and that means a lot more jobs in aviation. Ocala Aviation has teamed up with an accredited university, enabling you to get a college degree in aviation while training to be a commercial pilot. And with options like financial aid, grants, and scholarships, it's never been a better time to get your new career in aviation started today. For more information, call me at Ocala Aviation, 352-861-7484.
You have that drip coming down from the corner of the room, but where did it start from? Bone Dry Roofing can and will fix it right the first time using quality materials and will deal honestly and fairly with you, period. You can find Bone Dry Roofing on their website, bonedryroofingllc.com, and Facebook at Bone Dry Roofing LLC. Do it right before your roof needs a tarp to keep the elements out. Bone Dry Roofing stands behind their work to help make your home safe and secure, plus they have financing available. Remember, if you're not bone dry, then you're all wet.
All right, 20 minutes after 11 o'clock. Gosh, the morning goes fast when you have good interviews. This is a really good one. I just went to the website for Denise, denisefrisino.com, I think is what I went to. She's a pretty lady, Robert. Look at her right there.
She's beautiful.
She's written a book. This is the first of two books, I understand, Orchids of War, and her previous book was, I have it here somewhere. What was it called again, Robin?
Oh.
Was it Whiskey something?
Whiskey's.
Wow, my gosh, I'm so sorry. Denise, I dropped my paper. Good morning.
Whiskey Cove.
Whiskey Cove.
Whiskey Cove.
But that was about prohibition through the San Juan Islands. This is Orchids of War has a sequel, which will carry the same characters through the war. So I will follow Billy and Eileen, her best friend who is Japanese, and Jack, the FBI agent, and her brother through the war and go through all the entanglements that happened during the war.
So what is fun about being an author?
The creative end of when I used to teach, I taught writing, and I used to say, this is the only time you actually get to play God. And my little kids, they would say, you can't say that word. And I said, yes, I can, because you get to create the individual from shoes to nose to hat, and it's creating all the different, and there isn't a character in my book that I wouldn't want to play. And that's what I go for, is giving them lots of different qualities to make them interesting.
I like that.
Flat.
In a book, I like character development. I just like getting to know the people. I don't want to just know a name and an action. I like to know something about them. And it sounds like that's what you've done.
That's what I'm attempting to do, and I hope that my goal has been met, and I hope that that's what my readers find.
Well,
yes.
Are you enjoying being back in that time period? Because as you're writing, I'm guessing you are there.
I am, and it's interesting. I have read so many historical books on the war that my husband actually said to me, "I think you need to take a break. I think you're getting shell shocked." And the hardest part for me, though, is I meet these marvelous men and women. I've been interviewing a man who's 102. I've interviewed him I think 8 times, but I'm afraid every time I try and call him again, because I'm afraid. It's happened to me over and over again that I meet someone, I fall in love with him. They tell you the most intimate times of their life when they were in a war.
Yeah, right.
And then they pass, and it's such a sense of loss.
And you had mentioned the character of Eileen. Once you are going through that second book, I mean, gosh, that really opens up an entire new avenue for you, since the U.S. government rounded up all of the Japanese to put them in detention.
Well, they were, some of them, yes, I've done lots of research on this, and I've interviewed people who were in Tule Lake and in the camps. I've also interviewed people who were not in the camps. All we asked them to do, and that's in my next book, which I'm writing now, is to move away from the war zone. Please don't stand on our shore and watch our ships go by and then tell it's a troop ship, it's a supply ship. We can't have that, you see. And so we asked them to move inland. And if they didn't or couldn't, then we relocated them away from the shorelines.
Why do you think it is? Now, I'm going to express my opinion in this question, so maybe you don't agree with my opinion, but why do you think it is that something as horrible as World War II actually had a romantic element to it? I've always wondered this. Why is the music so romantic? The movies were romantic, but yet the most horrible war the planet ever saw was happening.
They were children. I met a woman whose 15-year-old grandfather was in. They were, because of the coming out of the Depression, they would, like a lot of the people from the Midwest, they went to make money to send back to the farms. The minute that the news hit that Japan had attacked us, some lines were so long to get into the Navy or the Army. One man told me the story that he couldn't get in because the line was too long, and he stumbled over the Coast Guard line as he was walking out. So he walked in there and signed up for the Coast Guard.
Oh, wow.
But they were children. They were 18.
Yeah, sure.
So 17 in some cases, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some of them, a lot of them lied, or parents signed the release to let them go. So I interviewed one man who had gone through the war, had been shot down, all of these things that had happened, and at the end of the interview, he said, and I was safe in my own bed at home for my 21st birthday.
Oh, my
Wow.
Gosh. And that's what I'm trying to do in this book, too, is to impose that it was youth we were losing over there.
Yeah.
And men and women.
There's a song. I think it's the White Cliffs of Dover. Is that the song where Johnny will be safe in his own bed tonight?
Yeah.
Remember that line?
Bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Song.
And that always hit. Oh gosh, that's such a heart-wrenching moment of that song, because you realize what they're talking about is the war. Maybe the child doesn't have to be in a bomb shelter that night or something.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be White Christmas. I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas. All of those songs. The canteens that were in Los Angeles were, filled with movie stars entertaining the troops before they took off. Because the art, and I'm again talking the Pacific Theater. It's a great. You're right. It is an interesting
word, isn't it? Yeah.
But they would go to the canteen and they would dance, and you never knew if you would ever dance again.
That's
so
right.
it was a whole different concept. And the other thing to remember is there was only radio and newspaper.
Yeah.
That's what people lose in this is. And the other interesting thing when I've been interviewing people is when I ask them, did you know where Pearl Harbor was? Most of them tell me no. I have found one woman who knew where it actually was because her church had just sent cookies and things for Thanksgiving.
Is that right? See, I opened up this interview by telling a story about a photograph I have of my mother and her brother, my mother and my uncle, basically. And I remember my mother telling the story about how the Pearl Harbor bombing was that day that they had that photo shoot. And they didn't know what Pearl Harbor was. They didn't know where it was. What is Pearl Harbor? That was the talk back in those days.
My father was in the Signal Corps, and he had already enlisted. And he said he walked into the mess, and everyone was around the radio. And he said, "Oh, this can't be good." And somebody's head popped up and said, "We just attacked Pearl Harbor." He said, "Well, that can't be." And they had to go and get a globe to find out where. And he was already in the Army.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
and my father wrote for 35 years for the Hearst newspapers, and so he was in Signal Corps in the war over in Burma. So he was in the Burma.
Wow.
On the Burma Road.
Just a fascinating story. I can't wait to read the book, and I sure hope you come back with the next one, Denise. I went to Denise's website. It's Denise Frisino, as in Frank, Risin as in Nancy, O, DeniseFrisino.com. Is the book in Amazon and all the other places?
Absolutely. I sell it on my webpage as well, and they should ask their local bookstore if they will carry it as well. They could order it.
Orchids of War. And it looks like you have a blog that you continue to write.
I do, and the blog that's where I have the little videos of the men and women. The Pearl Harbor one is a 97-year-old man I interviewed who was on the Maryland the day of Pearl Harbor, and I have little snippets of his interview.
And the next book is Storms from a Clear Sky, coming soon, it says.
Correct. That's right.
All right, well,
soon.
I'm looking forward to that interview, Denise. Thank you so much for taking some of your time to talk to us about the book, and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
Very fun.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. A criminal investigation underway into last week's Oakland, California artist warehouse fire, where 36 are now confirmed dead. The cause of the blaze still unknown, but Fire Battalion Chief Melinda Drayton says,
ATF and our local investigators feel very strongly that they have identified the section of the building that is the area of origin.
Work on hold because a leaning tower is posing a safety risk for search crews. Dylan Roof, the accused killer in the Charleston church massacre, has changed his mind, asking the judge to let him have his legal team back again.
Roof had successfully convinced the judge to remove the lawyers and allow him to conduct his own defense against the lawyer's recommendation. Roof is facing a death sentence at this federal trial. He's also awaiting a South Carolina trial for 9 counts of murder.
Fox's Evan Brown. President-elect Trump has picked Ben Carson as his housing secretary, describing him as having a brilliant mind. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Napa know-how.
To make folks think you spent a lot on their gifts this holiday season, go to Napa and pick up Napa Full Synthetic Motor Oil for only $2.99 a quart. Because it's synthetic, they'll think you ponied up some serious dough. But in reality, Napa Full Synthetic Motor Oil is only $2.99 a quart. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
General states pricing. Sales prices do not include applicable state, local taxes, or recycling fees. Offer expires 12/31/16.
Geico presents a voicemail from your friend, Electricity.
Hey, it's me, Electricity. So I'll keep this short. Get it? Never mind. Anyway, I just want to make sure you're not, still mad at me about that electrical fire in your kitchen. I mean, obviously you're not, but I'm just checking to make sure. It's no big deal if you are. It's not like you're asking me to pay for the damage. Right?
Electricity won't pay for an electrical fire. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency makes getting coverage a snap. Visit geico.com to see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
Are you a list maker? Got your day planner laid out to structure your day? Well, here's something to add to your list. Make time for something really important. Visit Highland Memorial Park, because how you prepare for that moment is so important. Why Highland? Sure, it's a beautiful place, but aside from the beauty and the quiet reflection, practical people will appreciate the many options. Take a tour and make some serious plans. The Highland staff